So what I'm going to do now is I'll stop and I'll introduce you and we'll just get straight into it.
Sounds good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the When It Worked podcast. You're with Julian Leahy, and today I'm talking with Connor Flynn in Seattle, Washington, and we've been talking about storytelling, and this is something that a lot of people probably won't really understand in the beginning, but it's really important to building a brand and making people remember your offer, remember who you are. Welcome to the show, Connor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Julian.
And tell us about how do we use stories in our marketing and why are they important?
Yeah, definitely. So, just a bit of background. I got the idea for creating an e-commerce brand a couple months ago at this point, so last year. And that's really when I started to recognize and better understand like the value of stories and telling a compelling story, because I always like to think that you can have the best product, you can sell the best product in the world that can help the most people, but if you don't really get your word out about that product, if you don't kind of in a way sell the idea and the story behind that product, people aren't really going to understand why they should buy it, right? So that's kind of how I got into the space of storytelling and marketing and everything. But I think the biggest thing is just stories are kind of what connect us all. Like you, we are, we laugh at jokes that comedians tell because oftentimes they're relatable. We kind of understand people better and connect with people who we can see ourselves in their shoes, and we know exactly what they've been through. Like I can see, let's say, for example, someone struggled with something that I've struggled with myself, and that storytelling ability and just being relatable, being personable is kind of what draws that connection and just creates more. It's just more entertaining and more fun, and it builds that human connection that we all kind of seek out. So that's kind of just a brief overview of like how I see stories as being so important in just really anything.
Yeah, and often it's the product is people think when they've got this product that that's all they've got to do and everyone will love it straight away. And really, you need to show that you understand like a problem or a frustration that people have and talk about that rather than say just the features of your product. And when you speak to people on that emotional level, they remember and they understand. I guess they get it. It's what you need to do. So, what do we do? What should a person do that is look needs to build their personal brand? Um, where do they? How do they create their story? You know, where do they put it? And how do they sort of incorporate it into their marketing?
Yeah, I feel like the first thing you have to do is ask yourself why. So why are you wanting to create a brand? Why are you wanting to educate people on something or create a product? I think the narrowing down on why you're doing that, and kind of having in a way like a mission, a vision for where you want it to go is the most important thing you need to start with. So figure out your why, and from there you can in a way reverse engineer what you want to do. So like let's say I know 5 years from now, um, I personally wanted to be able to travel around the world and tell stories that inspire people. Like that's my kind of personal why. And so for just each individual person, just come up, it's obviously going to be different for each person, but come up with why you want to create a brand or why you want to tell these stories. And from there, you can kind of reverse engineer what you have to do. So maybe I have to, uh, like, I don't know, just figure out the tasks and the small goals that you have to achieve in order to get to your why, and kind of in a way live out what you dreamed. Because also, I think the biggest thing is if you don't have a reason for actually um, doing what you're doing, you're gonna one burn out super quickly. Like you're gonna lose motivation, lose passion in what you're doing, and then also just it makes it a lot more difficult than it has to be, because I'm sure we've all heard like if you do something you love, you never work a day in your life, which I obviously kind that saying is kind of iffy in a lot of ways, but in some ways it is true, because if you're constantly working towards something that you actually want to achieve, in a way, your goals and your dreams, I think that is the biggest thing, is just narrowing down on why you're actually starting to begin with.
Definitely, and this, well, it's a long journey, and it's like a marathon, not a race. So what I find is that you work out why and what you want to do, but you need to find a way that actually you do enjoy and that you get a kick out of it, and then and incorporate that into your process, because like you said, you burn out if you're doing something that is horrible, and but you think it's essential to getting to where you want to get to. Eventually, it's going to be difficult for you to keep going, and the consistency is, to me, the number one factor that you need to do to be successful. And if you don't have that, I guess, part of enjoyment and passion in it, then even if it's money or whatever, it just doesn't matter compared to, you need to be able to get some sort of enjoyment out of what you're doing. So, for example, doing this, what I'm doing for content, uh, I enjoy doing it, and then the side effect of it is that it helps me in other ways. So, yeah, I guess the same would apply to building your personal brand, and telling stories, and all of that. I'm starting to ramble now, Connor. But yeah, what I was saying, you've got to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. So whatever it is, whatever type of content you're creating, there's got to be a little spark of interest, where the times when you kind of don't want to do it, you still, oh, well, actually, I quite enjoy doing it, and you can just keep producing content. So
Yeah,
anything else you'd like
definitely.
to add? Yeah.
That just reminds me of a kind of a Japanese saying. I forget what it's called, but it's passion is the intersection of, or maybe it's not passion. Um, what you should do and what kind of the best way to go about your life is at the intersection of a couple different things. It's passion, what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what you can make money with, and what the world needs. There might be a couple others, but those are the ones that come off the top of my head. And I think that is a great kind of example of kind of, if you don't know where you should go in life, or kind of you're feeling stuck, maybe of, oh, I don't know like what I'm good at. I don't know like what I should do with my life. I think that just asking yourself those questions, so like, what am I interested in? What am I good at? What is kind of in demand right now? Like, what will people actually, um, like, what do people need right now? I think asking yourself those questions is a great way to at least start and figure out, kind of get on the right track in a way. So that was kind of just something off the top of my head that previous conversation reminded me of. But I wish I could remember what the saying, the word is. But
Yeah, they've got a lot of good sayings in Japanese that kind of sum up these great concepts. Same as German. German has a lot of really good words that have so much meaning in them. Now, what are you doing as far as, what's your strategy for content creation? What have you committed to? I mean, you're going on podcasts, you're writing on Medium. What sort of stuff are you doing, and why are you doing it?
yeah, that's a good question. So I've kind of diagrammed out the different things that I want to do. So I focused mostly, to start, on Twitter. So just because Twitter is kind of what I got into a couple years ago, I built like great connections on there, made some really good friends on there, and Twitter is really the only platform, social media platform, where you can validate an idea in real time, just based off the nature of the platform. So you have, I think it's 270 characters to write something, a lot of value. Like, people, a lot of the times people only think of Twitter as like a place where you can debate about politics and stuff like that. But if you get and connect with the right people, it can be very valuable. You can learn a bunch of different things, and that's kind of where I started to really get into marketing itself. And marketing business is, I just happened to come across these accounts, learned a lot from them, and got interested that way. So that's kind of one of the platforms I'm using right now, just I come up with an idea, something I want to share, like a quick bit of information about storytelling or marketing or copywriting, whatever it is, share it there. And from that that specific tweet, I kind of create a more full-fledged concept, so better idea. Maybe I'd put out a tweet about just the best marketing tips. Just one that comes off the top of my mind is Disney marketing. Like Disney's one of the best companies at marketing. So I wrote a tweet about that, just an idea. And then I turned that into a longer blog article, which I then made into a Twitter thread. So it's kind of like a blog article in a way for specifically Twitter. And from there, I haven't really gotten too much into like YouTube or TikTok, but there's a lot of different ways you can repurpose content. So if you are a business or a brand that are looking to create more content ideas, like I think it's a great way. You don't have to always come up with this, you don't always have to come up with original content ideas. A lot of times you'll already have ideas that you can repurpose from past. So maybe you created like a great YouTube video, put a lot of effort into it. That could be used. You can break that down to individual TikTok videos. TikTok is huge right now. You can break that down into a Twitter thread or a blog article or even like an email. So there's so many different ways that you can go about creating kind of not necessarily original content, but just adding different bits and pieces from one single idea and then creating so many different platforms or using it for so many different platforms to get your word out and just build a bigger audience. So that's kind of what, in a way, what I'm trying to do right now is just like come up with different ideas and topics and then use these different platforms to educate others and inspire others and explain different elements of different things. So hopefully that kind of answered your question a bit.
You know what you should do, Connor? Start a podcast and get people to create content for you. Like
That's a good point. Yeah. I actually did start, I have started a podcast. I've only had 2 episodes published so far, but you're probably, when did you start this podcast?
I don't know, but it's only up to about 60, maybe 60 episodes or something. But yeah, it's great. It works good. And then it goes, onto YouTube and all of that, Facebook. But the only 2 I haven't really worked out is TikTok and Instagram. I had a look at doing TikTok and I worked out what I needed to do to have a successful TikTok account, and I just wasn't really willing to do it. Like, it's very much, it's those kind of like staged ones with like music in the background and like being all cute. I don't really, because it's not really suitable for, with Instagram, you could do clips of content that you've done, like 2-minute or 1-minute clips, and that's quite suitable. So you just got to find out. I mean, you don't need to be across every platform. Just got to find what works for you, and then try to create one pillar piece of content that you can then use on different platforms.
Yeah, definitely. And I think experimentation is huge. Like once you find out what works for you and once you create that kind of what you said pillar piece of content, you can try out different platforms and try out different, like maybe your thing is creating YouTube videos. Maybe you should try out turning that YouTube video into a blog. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least you tried and you know that, oh, I should just focus on YouTube instead of these other things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I do that. I put them into a blog post as well. All right, well, I've got to cut this one short. I've got something happening here. Thanks for coming on, Connor. Some good info there about creating content and telling personal stories.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Julian.
No worries. And thanks for listening and watching, everyone. And I'll see you very soon. I've got another couple of podcasts coming up very soon. Bye.
No worries.